What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm sitting in a 2016 F150. It's 3.5 and non-EcoBoost, and we're going to be doing quite a few things to this. And what we're going to be doing is a timing cover, a AC compressor, water pump, thermostat, and maybe even a tune-up. I can't remember. But anyway, it's the first time I've ever worked on one of these, so I don't know what I'm in store for as far as the timing cover on this, but the AC compressor we're going to be doing in a different video. And this right here has, I think, like 127, 828.6. There we go. So stay with me. Let me gather some tools and we'll be right back to get started on this. Here we are, and first thing I want to do is actually start pulling this intake off, because we'll have to take it off so we can get the valve covers off on this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this. Should have connector right here. See if we can get it to come in some. Pull that off. I'll show you how to pull that off in just a second. Then there should be one more over here. That should be a push clip type. Come on. I can't really see it. May have to get a screwdriver. Hold on. But I'm gonna pull this off. Like I said, it's just a hose clamp here, two hoses right there, and the breather box. Let me pull this off now. I'll show y'all what that looks like. There we go, we got it off. Didn't take but a second. Here's that little piece I was showing y'all. You gotta push that little black piece right there down, pull it out. And then this one right here, just got this little tab right there. You pull it down and out, and that slides right off. And here's a better view of what that looks like right here. See if I can get that one to come off. All that did was just release the pressure on the brake booster, but we'll have to take that off anyway, just because pulling the intake off. Next, we're going to start pulling the intake off and set this breather down. And we have another one of these right here. And we got a few connectors. Come on. I'll pull that off in just a second. Oh, why aren't you coming out? Of course you don't want to come out now. And we got this big one right there. Alright, this is the harder to do one-handed. Let me try to set y'all up for a minute. Alright, so what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to pull this overflow, or the not the overflow, but yeah, kind of like the overflow for your radiator. Right here, I'm gonna pull, and that's where you put the coolant in. I'm gonna pull this off just so I can kind of sit down on top and hang my legs down in here. So let me take this off. I'm gonna drain the coolant. To do this, just gonna be some hoses and a couple bolts right here. So we got the overflow off, and the way I did that was pulled this piece right here off. If any of y'all have ever worked on BMWs, it's just like a BMW style hose clamp. So you just pull this little pin right here, or C-clip, whatever you want to call it, pull it back up, and it should slide right out. Now clip it back down so you don't lose it. These things right here are like worth gold for some reason. I tried to buy one for a Ford one time, and I think it was like $20 just for that one little clip, and that was from Ford. Next, I took off the hose that was right here, and then this hose, and those are just standard hose clamps. Then two 10 millimeters, and it lifted right out here. Now it does have a little slot right here that it slides into, and I took that out because I was going to have to take it out anyway, and it lets me get down in here a little bit better. I can kind of sit up here on top of the radiator support. Now, like I was saying, We'll have to pull this intake off. See if I can get this clip right here off. It's hard to get underneath there. They don't like to pop up that easy. There we go. This is that clip right here. You just have to push it up. And they snap down in place pretty tight, especially once they're on the this little sensor right here. And there's one back here. Try to get some of these connectors off. We're going to go ahead and start taking some of the bolts out now. There is a bracket right here in the front, and it looks like that's probably an 8mm that holds that on. You'll have to take that all the way off too, because it does attach to the timing cover, and that's what we're trying to take off. But I don't think there's any cooling lines that run to the actual throttle body on this one. Which it looks like all of them are 8mm anyway, so I'm gonna have to jump down and grab my 1/4 inch. So what I'm gonna do is start taking off all these manifold bolts. It should be, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guessing 6 of them that hold this on. 7 if you count the brace. So let me grab my 8mm. I'll take these off. Once I get it off, I'll show you exactly where all the bolts are. Right, there it is. Got the intake off of here, and you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 7 bolts. 8 if you count this bracket on the front there. And we do have this one loose, and I just screwed in the other bolts right there, and I just left all these bolts in here where they come out. The only one that really come out anyway is this one. The other ones are encapsulated in it, so it's got like a little washer on there or something that's keeping it. So get that off. Now what we can do, we can start pulling off these valve covers. And what we'll have to do on that is take these cam sensors out, take the coils out of here. You may have to take this off. Just be careful when you do. It is kind of crusty on that. But take that off and move some of this wiring out of the way. You'll have like these little hold down clamps on the bolts themselves. Let's see if we can get them off. Try to get some of these off on video for y'all. A lot of these have safety tabs on them. More than likely I have to use a screwdriver to pull them up. Yeah. Alright, so that's what I'm going to work on next. And then once I get all the coils out and the wiring harness off, I will show y'all how many bolts there are on each one of them. I'll probably go ahead and pull one valve cover off, and then whenever I get ready to take the other one off, I'll show y'all that process. I have the passenger side off already, and I got all the bolts loose on the driver's side. Now on the driver's side, you do have a wire you're going to have to kind of go around, and it runs down like through the engine and the manifold right there. So we're going to try to pry this up now. Now, the other one was super tight. Just going underneath the valve cover, between the valve cover and the head, prying it up a little bit at a time. And the spot that was stuck on the driver's side, passenger side was right back here on the back. So let me set y'all down for a second and see if y'all can watch this. Also, the dipstick is in the driver's side. And these valve cover gaskets are hard as a rock too. There's your valve cover. Now on to the next step. Next step is we're going to go ahead and start taking all these belts off, and we're going to take this water housing right here off completely. I'm just going to take the upper radiator hose, lower radiator hose, and this crossover hose right here. I think it goes to your heater core. We're going to take that off, and then we'll unbolt it and pull all this out as an assembly, just so we can get to the timing cover a lot better. We got the water housing that holds the thermostat in as well, and what we're going to do now is take the belt off and take the water pump off. The tensioner is right there. I don't know how well y'all can see that. Kind of tight. There we go. Tensioner's right there, and then two of the bolts that held the housing on was part of the thermostat bolts. You can see the two right there. So we're going to take the belt off, and then we're going to take this pulley off. There are two different types of water pump. There's a 4-bolt and a 3-bolt. Mine happens to be a 3-bolt. So I'm going to take those loose. It looks like they're 10 millimeters, and the rest of the water pump bolts are a 8 millimeter. I don't know what the tensioner is, but it kind of looks like a 14 or 15. So we'll try that, and I'll let y'all know what it is when I bring it back. Water pump is off. Next thing I got to do now is I'm actually going to cut the AC belt right here, because that is a stretch belt, and we're going to be doing AC on this anyway. And then I'm going to take this tensioner off and take the alternator and just lay it to the side. And once we get through with that, we can take the harmonic balancer off on this and see what we got behind it to pull the timing cover off. So let me get this tensioner off. Oh yeah, the tensioner was a 15 for the nut that you gotta take the belt off with, and it looks like it's going to be a 15 to take the alternator off, and probably a 10 millimeter to take the tensioner itself off. Where we're at now is I got the alternator off, I got the water pump off, we got some of the bolts in the timing cover off, I got the belt, the tensioner, cut the AC belt. Like I said, that's a stretch belt. We're replacing it anyway because we are doing the AC compressor on this. And I went ahead and took the harmonic balancer bolt out. The harmonic balancer bolt is an 18 millimeter, and I took it out with just a regular 18 millimeter and an impact gun. It come right out. It wasn't even really that tight, but we got that out, and now all I got to do is pull the harmonic balancer off. But to get the alternator off, it was two 15 millimeters. One was a nut, one was a bolt, and to make it easier on me, I got a 7 millimeter and took this stud out. The end of it is a 7, so and I threaded that back in because the timing cover should come around it, and I'd kind of act as like a guide pin whenever I get ready to put the timing cover back on. And all the timing cover bolts so far have been a 15, except for one right in here. I don't know how well y'all can see that because the light is blinding. There it is. But that was an 8 millimeter. And so far we got all of them out except for, it looks like about 4 or 5 of them on the bottom around the harmonic balancer. I don't know if this one has to be pressed off or what, but I'm going to see if it will walk off. Like I said, I've never worked on one of these, so I don't know. And I got a puller just in case, so I'm going to try to pull it off by hand. If not, I'll use my puller and I'll show you the puller I have for it. I know my bag, box, whatever you want to call it, is a mess at the moment, but this is the puller I got. It should go around it and pull it off if I need to. So let me try to get this off, see what I have to do to remove it, and once I get it off, I'll let y'all know everything that it takes to get it off. Alright, so we got the harmonic balancer off, and that took way longer than it should have. It took me about an hour to get my tool to get on there. I don't know why it wasn't biting, but I finally got it. And we got the rest of the bolts out of the timing cover. Now on the bottom of the timing cover, there's going to be a 8mm that's holding on a wiring harness piece, and then that bolt is a 10mm behind that little 8mm nut you're going to take off. But now we got all the bolts out and the timing cover is pretty much loose. Hold on, try to, and you can see she is about ready to come off if I can get it one-handed. I think this wiring harness down here is what's holding me up. There's a couple things holding me up. Let me take this off and then I'll show it to you. Alright, and there's your timing chain in all its glory. And there's a couple marks on that right there. But all in all, she don't look too bad. I'm going to check the timing chain just to make sure everything is good on it. Hopefully we don't have to change it, but if it does, now is the perfect time. Like I said, I just wanted to do timing cover on this because it was leaking right underneath this water neck. But now I'm going to clean all the old silicone off and get ready to put all the new silicone on it. But like I said, there's your timing chains. Here is your timing cover. You can see all the bolts that hold it on. And we will be replacing this seal right there as well, along with the front crank seal.